common signs and symptoms of a bad transmission range sensor, the causes, and how to fix them. A car's transmission is one of the most important systems in the entire vehicle. It's the bridge between your engine and your wheels, making sure the power your engine creates is sent to the wheels in the right way so the car can move and change speed smoothly. Inside this system, especially in cars with automatic transmissions, there's a small but extremely important part called the transmission range sensor. Some people know it as the park or neutral safety switch. Whatever name you use, it plays a big role in how your car runs and how safe it is to drive. Welcome to Auto V Fix, where we break down car problems in a way that makes sense and helps you get back on the road without the guesswork. This little sensor's job is to detect exactly where the shift lever is positioned and send that information to your car's computer. The important thing is the computer needs to know the exact gear you've selected so it can make the transmission work the way it should. If that signal from the sensor is wrong or missing, the computer is essentially blind about what gear you're in, and that can cause all kinds of problems. When the car's computer detects that the signal from the sensor doesn't make sense or isn't consistent, it usually turns on the check engine light and stores what's called a trouble code. Ignoring that warning can make things much worse. It can lead to expensive damage inside the transmission, unsafe driving conditions, and even a complete breakdown. There are several signs and symptoms that point to a bad transmission range sensor. One of the first and most obvious is the check engine light turning on. That light is your car's way of telling you something's wrong, and when it's related to this sensor, a mechanic's scan tool will almost always find that P0705 code stored. The computer is smart enough to notice when the gear signal doesn't match what's actually happening. For example, if you're driving 30 miles per hour but the signal says the car is in park, the computer knows that's impossible and flags the problem. Often the computer waits until it sees the problem happen in more than one trip before turning the light on. But once it does, that light isn't going away until the problem is fixed. Another common symptom is delayed or strange shifting. You might move the gear lever and notice the car takes much longer than normal to actually get into that gear. Or it might shift unpredictably while you're driving, like jumping to another gear or slipping out of the one it's in for no reason. This happens because the computer is getting bad information from the sensor and doesn't know how to handle the shifting correctly. Sometimes the problem shows up before you even start moving. The transmission range sensor often doubles as the neutral safety switch, meaning it tells the car's computer it's safe to start the engine. The engine should only start in park or neutral. If the sensor isn't sending the right signal, the computer may refuse to let the starter engage. You might find the car starts in neutral but not in park or the other way around. This can be frustrating, and in some cases it can leave you stranded if the car simply won't crank at all. The gear display on your dashboard also depends on the signal from the sensor. If that signal is wrong, the display can be wrong too. You could think you're in drive when you're actually in reverse or vice versa, which could be dangerous. In more severe cases, the car might stall or fail to move at all. If the sensor completely fails, the computer may not be able to engage any gear. The car doesn't know where the shift lever is, so it won't allow movement. In some cars, the transmission might lock itself into one single gear to protect itself. This is often called limp mode or fail-safe mode. It's a way of limiting performance so you can get the car to a shop without causing further damage, but it makes acceleration sluggish and keeps speeds low. Physical symptoms can also include grinding, jerking, or clunking noises when shifting. That happens when the transmission tries to change gears without the right timing or pressure because it's confused about the gear position. It's most noticeable when accelerating or slowing down. You might also feel the transmission slipping, which is when it doesn't stay firmly in gear under load. The engine revs up, but the car doesn't accelerate as it should, or it hesitates before finally engaging. Before we go deeper into what causes these problems and how to fix them, this is a good time to remind you. If you find videos like this useful, take a second to subscribe to Auto V Fix and hit the notification bell so you never miss out on the tips and explanations that can save you time, money, and stress when it comes to your car. All of these symptoms are warnings. They can happen for different reasons, but if several of them appear together, the transmission range sensor becomes a prime suspect. Now, why does this sensor go bad in the first place? Sometimes it's simply worn out from years of use, heat, and vibration. Inside the sensor are small electrical contacts that open and close as you move the gear lever. Over time, they can wear down, burn, or corrode, leading to poor signals. Wiring issues are another common cause. The wires that connect the sensor to the car's computer can get damaged, broken, or shorted out. Heat from the engine or exhaust can melt insulation. Connectors can loosen or corrode, especially in areas exposed to moisture or road salt. Any of these issues can interrupt the signal and make the computer think the sensor is bad when it's really the wiring. More often, the problem is in the linkage between the gear lever and the transmission. If that linkage is bent, misaligned, or has worn parts, it can cause the sensor to report the wrong gear. Some cars have the sensor mounted directly on the transmission's valve body, and if there's an internal problem there or the transmission fluid is dirty or low, it can affect the sensor's operation. Mechanical damage is another factor. If the part of the sensor that physically connects to the transmission is worn, like the splines that mesh with the lever, it can slip and misreport the gear. Seals can fail, letting fluid into places it shouldn't be, and in some designs that means removing and partially dismantling the transmission to fix. Diagnosing a faulty transmission range sensor starts with confirming the problem. A mechanic will connect a scan tool to the car's diagnostic port to read any stored codes and see live data from the sensor. This live data shows what gear the computer thinks the car is in. If that doesn't match the actual gear, there's a problem. Next comes a visual inspection of the sensor, its wiring, and its connectors. Technicians look for signs of damage, corrosion, loose connections, or worn insulation. They may test the sensor's electrical resistance and voltage in different gear positions to see if it's working correctly. Comparing these readings to the manufacturer's specifications can confirm whether the sensor is bad or the issue lies elsewhere. The gear linkage will also be checked to ensure it's properly adjusted and not binding. Transmission fluid condition is examined because while it won't usually kill the sensor directly, dirty or low fluid can cause related shifting problems. If the diagnosis points to the sensor itself, the repair approach depends on the design of the vehicle. In some cars, the sensor is mounted externally and can be replaced without much trouble. In others, it's inside the transmission and requires more labor to access. The first step in any replacement is disconnecting the battery for safety. Then the sensor is located and its electrical connector unplugged. If it's external, it's usually held on with a couple of bolts and can be removed easily. The new sensor is installed in the correct position so it matches the neutral gear setting, then bolted down and reconnected. For internal sensors, the process can involve removing the transmission pan, valve body, or in rare cases the whole transmission, which is a much bigger job. After replacement, the car's computer may need to be reset, and, in some newer models, recalibrated to work with the new sensor. Costs for replacing a transmission range sensor vary. For most cars, you're looking at anywhere from $200 to $800 depending on the make and model, whether the sensor is internal or external, and local labor rates. Parts can range from about $50 to $350, with labor making up the rest. Shops with higher hourly rates will charge more, and extra work like calibrating the new sensor or repairing wiring will add to the total. Sometimes the fix is simpler than full replacement. If the wiring is damaged, repairing or replacing the wires and connectors can solve the problem. If the linkage is misadjusted, setting it correctly can restore proper sensor operation. Preventing this problem entirely isn't always possible because the sensor is a wear item over time. Having the transmission inspected during routine service visits can reveal worn linkage parts, damaged wiring, or dirty fluid before they cause bigger problems. Addressing check engine lights promptly rather than ignoring them is key. Driving with a faulty sensor is risky. Even if the car still moves, the incorrect gear signals can cause hard shifting, slipping, or staying stuck in one gear. This puts extra strain on the transmission and can lead to costly repairs. In some cases, you may lose the ability to shift into drive or reverse altogether, which is obviously a serious safety concern. The transmission range sensor may be small, but its role is huge. It's the messenger between your gear lever and your car's brain, and when that messenger goes silent or starts sending bad information, the whole system suffers. Recognizing the signs like warning light, starting issues, strange shifting, incorrect gear displays, stalling, limp mode, or slipping, and getting them checked quickly can save you from major headaches and expenses. A healthy sensor keeps your transmission working smoothly, your driving experience comfortable, and your car safe on the road. And when something's not right, knowing what to look for and how it's fixed puts you one step ahead in keeping your vehicle running at its best. So that's everything you need to know about the signs, causes, and fixes for a bad transmission range sensor. If your car is showing any of these symptoms, don't wait. Get it diagnosed and repaired before it leads to bigger problems. If you found this explanation helpful, give this video a like, share it with someone who might need it, and drop a comment below if you've had experience with this issue. And of course, subscribe to Auto V Fix for more straightforward car repair tips that help you keep your vehicle running smoothly. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.